Welcome to day 2 of our French road trip. Today, we will be visiting Château de Chenonceau, the second most visited chateau in France behind the Palace of Versailles. Anyway, before we can see... What? I have a question. Yes, what is it? So you said Chenonceau is number 2 and Versailles is number 1, but what about the Louvre in Paris? That was once a royal residence, and I'm sure it must get more visitors. Yes, you are correct. The Louvre does get more visitors than the Palace of Versailles. However... Also, isn't it the Palace of Versailles, not the Château de Versailles? Château means castle, not palace. If you would let me explain, yes, you are correct. Translated directly, Château does mean castle, and while the Louvre did technically start as a chateau, it was eventually converted into a palais. Now, I know you're already asking, doesn't Palais mean palace? And it's called the Palace of Versailles, not the Castle of Versailles. That is true. However, beginning in the Renaissance period, the term chateau became used to describe a luxurious residence, particularly in a rural setting, while a palais refers to a grand residence found in urban areas. It was thus common to speak of the Louvre as a palais in the heart of Paris, and Versailles as a chateau out in the countryside near the village of Versailles at the time of its construction. I know in English we call it the Palace of Versailles, but in French it is still commonly referred to as the Château de Versailles. Did that help? Good. Now, where was I? Anyway, before we could leave Chenonceau, we had to leave Blois, where we stayed the night before. The day started with a wonderful French breakfast with a peculiar egg boiler. One would dip the egg in a small net thing into boiling water. Maybe it's just me, but that is the first and last time I've ever seen an egg boiler like that. I can't even find it online. Hotels, take notes, because it was pretty cool. Continuing, cue the driving montage. Arriving at Chenonceau, which is again located within the Loire Valley, the grand entrance to the chateau and gardens is a long, beautiful path lined with tall, plane trees. Along the path, visitors can stop and explore a charming, hedge-crafted labyrinth, also called the maze. On the east side, opposite of the path, one can see a monumental caryatid, created by Jean Goujon, a Renaissance sculptor and architect whose more famous Salle de Caryatide, sorry if I butchered that, sits in the Louvre today. This labyrinth monument once adorned the facade of the chateau before being moved to its current location. Continuing down the path and crossing a canal, the path opens up into a courtyard and concludes with the gardens and the castle itself. Welcome to Château de Chenonceau. The story of Chenonceau began in the late 1200s as a riverside fortress, controlling trade on the River Cher under the Mac family. The original castle, owned at the time by its first known lord Jean Mac, was burned down in 1412 by the crown as punishment for him being accused of sedition. Marc rebuilt the castle around 1430, creating a sturdier, square fortress with a fortified mill on stone piers extending into the Cher River. Today, the only remnant of the original castle is the stone well by the gate, still carved with the Marc's family coat of arms. The Tour de Marc, or Marc's Tower, which was the keep, is all that remains of that second medieval stronghold. The castle as we see it today was born in the early 1500s. In 1513, the estate was acquired by royal tax collector Thomas Boyer and his wife Catherine Briconnet from Pierre Marc, heir of Jean Marc, who was heavily in debt. With Thomas off to war in Italy, it was Catherine who oversaw the demolition of the old fortress and commissioned a new Renaissance chateau built directly on the foundation of the medieval mill. Between 1514 and 1522, the refined palace you see today was constructed, installed with one of France's first straight staircases, a daring Italian innovation in a country still obsessed with spiral towers. Moving to 1535, debt put Chenonceau into the hands of King Francois I. Sound familiar? And following his death in 1547, his son, King Henri, or King Henry II, promptly gave Chenonceau to his mistress, Diane de Poitiers. Diane added the formal gardens and in 1556 commissioned a 5-arch bridge to be built over the River Cher. When King Henry died in 1559, his widow, Catherine de Medici, forced Diane to trade castles, taking the chateau for herself. She then built the lavish 2-story gallery on top of Diane's bridge, turning it into a grand ballroom over the water. This 60-meter-long gallery hosted lavish court parties during the late 1500s. Along with this, and her other additions, she also added a chapel. Catherine de' Medici ruled France as regent for her sons from this chateau, earning the chateau its nickname of Le Château de Dames, or the Lady's Castle. In 1560, she hosted France's first recorded fireworks here to celebrate the ascension of her son, Francois II, to the throne, who ruled for only a little over a year due to death by an ear infection. Gotta love medieval medicine. Her initials still decorate the chateau today, paired with the royal H of her husband Henry. Fast forward 2 centuries, during the French Revolution, many estates were looted or burned, but Chenonceau was spared because its bridge over the River Cher was the only crossing for miles. Destroying it would have cut off villages from vital routes. In 1913, the chateau was purchased by the Menier family, the famous chocolatiers and current owners of the estate. During World War I, the Menier family turned the 60-meter Grand Gallery into a field hospital, treating over 2,250 wounded soldiers beneath its checkered floor. In World War II, the chateau's unusual geography became a lifeline. The front doors stood in Nazi-occupied France, while the south side of the gallery opened into Free France. The gallery became a secret corridor where the Meniers and staff smuggled Jewish families and other fugitives across the line to safety. Today, Chenonceau is one of the most visited chateaux in France, with nearly 1 million visitors a year. While here, feel free to grab an audio guide that describes the many parts of the chateau and its history still visible today. Whether you come for the gardens, the galleries, or the ghosts of its many residents, Chenonceau rewards every step. Now enjoy some shots of the beautiful interior of Château de Chenonceau. After leaving the chateau and gardens, we passed a picturesque potager de fleurs, or flower garden. The garden and small cottage epitomized what one might picture the French countryside to look like, complete with a donkey. From here, we left the Loire Valley and got to experience getting gas in France for the first time, along with grocery shopping, which, let me tell you, was an experience. Then, of all places to eat, we stopped at McDonald's. Sometimes you just need a quick, tried and true burger. Two noticeable differences were the pomme frite sauce, which is to die for, at least in my opinion, and the reusable containers. To finish the day, we landed in Malo, which would be our home for the next 2 nights. Here, we had some delicious galettes for a late dinner and strolled around the city. If you'd like to learn more about Malo, one of the last fortified cities and where some of the highest ocean tides in the world occur, stay tuned and watch the next episode of this France road trip series. I hope you enjoyed this video and exploring Château de Chenonceau. Tomorrow, we will visit one of France's most iconic landmarks, namely Mont Saint-Michel, and as mentioned, travel the streets of the unique city of Saint-Malo. If you'd like to stay up to date with new episodes, feel free to hit that subscribe button, and a like is of course always appreciated. See you soon. A bientôt. Now, my current plan for these travel videos is I'll only show the souvenirs that are very special to me or that are recommendable. And this here is definitely one of them. If you or you know someone that loves picture books and would love to learn more about the Loire Valley, specifically the chateaux of the Loire Valley, this is the perfect book for you. It shows all of the different chateaux, including the ones we have seen, the Château Royal de Blois, the Château de Chambord, and the Château de Chenonceau, which of course is on the cover as well. Each chateau will have a short description, both in French and English, and then a few beautiful pictures that will make you imagine that you are there in person.